to the Nappy Frappe. My name is Cheryl Monique. I am your host. In the background, that is my co-host / crew, Ken and Barack, my baby. And so today the conversation is going to be a little love advice. And I'm giving 10 pearls of wisdom for cultivating a healthier love life. I think sometimes people take for granted the idea of having a healthy love life. Health, whether it's your diet, exercise, or your love life, has to be a conscious effort. It's not just going to happen. It has to be a series of conscious decisions to do the healthier option, because the impulse can sometimes be toxic. You know, sometimes you just want to set everything on fire and scream bloody murder because you're upset, because you feel disrespected or disappointed. But that's not how you get to a better place. Even if you're ending things, you want to conduct yourself in a healthy way. Just like you don't eat 6 Krispy Kreme donuts if you're on a diet. It's just not the healthy thing to do. Okay, so pearl number 1, know thyself. It is so important to know who you are, to know what you want. You know, there has to be a roadmap with an end goal. And if you are just flailing, you will be led by someone else's wishes. You have to know what it is you are seeking. And I think sometimes people get confused with a standard versus a preference. And you have to know what it is that is a deal breaker for you. What it is you just cannot deal with. What it is you really want. What it is that lights up your world. And you know what things you can kind of waver on. People get caught up, on the ideal and then you'll find the guy who's the perfect height, which is a preference, but doesn't meet any of your standards. And so it's really important that you understand what your goal is and know what it is that piques those interests. Know what it is that you've been through in your life that attracts you to what you are attracted to, and whether those attractions are healthy or somewhat toxic. Know when the toxic energy is coming from you. Know what things are your negative triggers and work on that. I think people get caught up in the idea that, all men are the same. And the truth is, men are no more, or women, men and women are no more monolith than Black people as a culture. There is a feminine culture and a masculine culture, but every person plays different roles within that culture. And you cannot assume that all these people are the same. The truth is, if you keep dating liars or cheaters or whatever, there is something in you that is attracted to that. And understanding that you are the common factor between those relationships will help you make better choices, Okay, so know yourself. Know when it's you. Because, sometimes in the breakup, they go, it's not me, it's you. A lot of times, it's not you, it's me. A lot of the times, it's you. I guess I'll say it's not me, it's you. Pearl number 2. This may be hard to hear, but you may be the worst liar in your life. I find that my friends come to me so often with, men play so many games. Even women are always playing games. And the truth is, that person is the one playing the games. That person is the one putting rules out there and then not sticking to them. For instance, I had a friend come over and say, I told this guy that I wasn't going to have sex unless we were in a relationship, and we've been dating for this many months, and we've been having sex, and then I find out he's dating other people, and I asked, oh, when did you guys have that discussion? When did you have that talk about becoming exclusive and not dating other people? We didn't, but I told him that I wasn't going to have sex with anybody unless I'm in a relationship. And then you did. It's you. You're the liar. You said you wouldn't do this thing, then you did it. And now you're mad at him for doing what they wanted to do. It's not on someone else to preserve your rules, your boundaries. So often people put up false boundaries and don't stick to them. And they can't be honest with themselves that those weren't real boundaries. So it's important that you understand the lines you set up and be honest, be true, and be honest with yourself if that's not what you want. If you aren't ready for that yet, if you aren't ready to have a hard stance and defend your own rules. Okay, this is another one that I find gets a little bit hard for people to hear. I want you to think of every bad relationship you've ever been in. The worst, the lies, the cheating, the disrespect, the abuse, the playing on your insecurities, the gaslighting, all of it. Every person. And I want you to take 100% responsibility for it. All of it. All of it. It's so important. This is probably the most important rule of them all. Take 100% responsibility for every single thing that you've experienced, because these were choices you made. And it doesn't mean that the person was right to do it, but you are not a child. Children don't have choices in the relationships they have, and often don't have a choice in the position they play in those relationships. As an adult, you made choices. And whether it was to ignore that lie, to allow the argument to get a little disrespectful, to accept an apology where you felt that you would not ever tolerate this, to give a second chance, and then find that that second chance has turned into a fourth chance and a 10th chance. That's you. That's the hard part. The good part is once you take 100% responsibility, you can say, I made these choices so I can choose better. The unfortunate part of not taking responsibility is that you start to feel like life has done you wrong, like love has done you wrong. In truth, you have just made bad choices. You can always make better choices. It's that simple. When I started to take 100% responsibility for all the bad choices that I made in dating, it helped me make better choices. It doesn't mean the next person is perfect. It doesn't mean your choices become perfect. It means that you do better each time. You hold yourself accountable for the choice. You hold yourself accountable for the relationships you decided to be in, the position that you placed yourself in, where if you feel stuck, what have you done to lead you into a situation where you feel stuck in it? So again, take 100% responsibility. From that, number 4 is a lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. I said this in a past video, but let's get a little bit further into it. If you are in a relationship where you are being gaslit, and to be gaslit means when someone's telling you what you see is not what you see, that you're crazy. They're making you feel like you've lost your mind for seeing what's actually happening, and that you're the problem. It's like if I go through your phone and I find a phone number and now we're fighting about the lack of privacy instead of the fact that you're cheating on me. Like, my rule has always been, we can talk about what me going through your phone after, if we're still together, after we talk about what I found in it. I'm also not apologetic about going through anybody's stuff. So that's just me. I do believe in building on trust, but I'm also honest. So a lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated, where if you do not learn the lesson in the relationship, if you do not learn to walk away when you feel like, no, this is not me, this is another trap to get me caught up to where I can't focus on the real problem, and you stay in that situation, if you don't call it out, it's going to keep happening. If you get out of that relationship and then you start dating somebody, and alarms go off because they're doing the same thing you recognize, and you don't say anything, address it, and get out, it's on you. All of it. If you are someone that wants to be single, but then you find yourself always in a relationship that you weren't ready to be in, and now you're miserable and you want to be single, you're going to keep getting into those situations because it's you. So you have to learn the lesson. After every relationship, I take some time to just really think about what lessons I needed to learn. What happened? What was going on? So again, take note of every situation and try to learn at least one lesson from every relationship, or you're going to go through it again. All right, number 5. I want you to take a list, be mental inventory of the perfect person, the ideal mate for your life. And 5 is, ask yourself, are you the person on that person's checklist? Do you meet the criteria of that person's ideal mate? Because the person you can cultivate can come down to be a Barack. We've all kind of put him up on a pedestal, so let's use him. A Barack. But Barack had a list too. That list included, a lot of things that Michelle is. Are you a Michelle? You can't get a Barack, if you're not a Michelle. Barack, that's kind of a cute name. And so I think often people want someone ideal, and they don't take into account the needs of their mate. You need to think about, okay, these are the things I need. And in a relationship, we are going to be lining up goals and desires and expectations. And will I align with someone like this? Now, of course, when you meet that person, you don't know exactly what their goals are, but you can somewhat guess based on the things that you need. Okay, so the next step is number 6. Get your crap together and demand the best. I'm not saying don't go after that list. Totally go after that ideal guy. You know what you like. Go there. Look for that. Be open for the world to send you that. But be ready for that when you get it. Those things that you feel like you need to hit on your own checklist, get it together. Go for it. Because the further you get in life, the more you do. And accomplishments don't have to be like getting a certain degree or getting a certain job. For you, it may just be getting therapy. Because your goal may be to be in a relationship where you don't speak to each other in a disrespectful way. There's not a lot of anger and tension. And you may find that a good amount of that is you. Therapy. Go to therapy, be better, and then demand a relationship where you are respected, where you feel like you are the ish. Number 7, if you raise the bar and live there, people will meet you there. I think often people believe they've set a standard. They say, I want this, but then they settle for this, or they live the life of this. And it's like, I want to be a wife, but I'm going to sleep with a married man or someone in a relationship. You don't want this. That you can't want to be taken seriously in a monogamous relationship if you are willing to commit adultery with someone else. And it's really important that you know what you want in life and you set the bar and you live to that standard. And I promise you, people will meet you there. My husband, this may sound small, but on our, I think, second date, because the first date we took our own cars. I think the second date, he met me and we walked to his car and I stood on his side of the car. I expect my car door to be opened. And he went over to his side and he went to get in and I just kind of looked at him. And he was like, "Oh, you want me to open the door?" Yes. And he came over and he opened the door. He said no woman had ever asked him to do it. Of course, I leaned over and opened his door because it's just common decency. But after that, I have never opened a car door with us around. Maybe once I'll get to the car first and he's just like, "Oh, I'm trying to open it for you." But he always makes the effort to open the car door for me. That is because that is part of my standard. I had an ex once call me high maintenance. Now, I'm not really high maintenance, but I have high standards. They have nothing to do with materialistic things. I do my own hair, my own makeup, my own nails. My nails always look jacked. My makeup and hair be beat though. um, I'm not a designer loving kind of person, but at the same time, I know what I like. I know what makes me feel valuable. And so I set my value and I expect to be treated at the value that I'm at. It's like going into a Kmart or Walmart and going into, Saks Fifth Avenue or Bloomingdale's. The merchandise is treated differently. You don't see things tossed on the floor. If someone drops something from a rack, they pick it up immediately. In Walmart, you'll see someone just drop a whole rack and just step on it, step over it, because they don't value that. You have to set your value, raise your bar, set your value, and be that. And people will live up to it. I promise. Okay. Number 8. Every relationship needs respect, boundaries, honesty, and managing expectations. Respect is just a basic. My relationship, in all of my relationships, because I learned from everything. I was in a relationship that was really toxic many years ago. And I realized I would never fight like that again. And I decided, fight to solve, not to win. If you fight to solve, you're looking for a solution. So you keep calm. You stay respectful. You keep the dialogue open. You're not trying to win the fight. Even if you're trying to make your point heard, it's about coming to a solution, which means your point isn't the only point. You gotta come together and explain your side so you can come to a mutual agreement. Trying to win, that means I can say anything. Talk about your mama, say the thing that you've given me, the nugget of vulnerability you've given me, and throw it back at you just to hurt you. And then, oh, I won. I hurt you. Woo. If there's a winner, there's a loser. And making the person you're with feel like a loser is never a way to have a healthy relationship. In all the years of dating with my husband, our first disagreement, we talked about this. I made this clear. We don't yell at each other. Then I'm loud. And if I start to get loud, he not even like trying to yell, just, excited. It'll make me aware that, I'm getting loud. If his tone changes to makes me feel like, it's not really yelling, but it feels like yelling, I'll address, like, we stop the conversation and address the way the communication is happening. And we communicate differently because it is important to be effective. So we made that deal to not be disrespectful in any situation. We don't curse at each other because cursing is just never going to get anything done. And I love to curse. In my regular conversation, Please. Profanity is my second language. Love it. I use it like salt, sprinkle it all over my language. But in a disagreement, there's no place for profanity. It just escalates emotions and puts people on the defense to make them feel like they want to win. So, respecting everyone's feelings and thoughts is necessary in every relationship, whether it be love, friendship, or family. And in truth, if you can't do it with your friends or family, you're probably not going to be able to do it with your mate, because eventually, if you get to that ultimate relationship of like marriage, you guys become family. And then if you're lax with your family, you'll become more lax with them. We're not talking about how you talk to each other in the first couple of months. And if someone disrespects you in the first few months of dating, get out. It's not going to get better. Boundaries. It is so important that you know what your triggers are, where your lines are. For me, the cursing is definitely a boundary. Also, shut up is a boundary. For me, I know that abuse doesn't start at a punch in the face. It starts at things like shut up. It becomes shut up, shut the F up, shut up, B. And then, after that, I guess you got to make me if I don't, right? So things like that. Shut up is just dismissive in so many ways, but that's a boundary for me. That is a deal breaker. That's like a relationship ender for me. And it's about respecting my boundaries, and I will always respect the boundaries of the people around me. And this goes for friends too. If people don't respect my boundaries, I will take space from them. If they're family and I can't completely cut you off, because I'm not one for like just completely kicking family out my life, I will take a big break from you. You won't hear from me for a long time. I got to respect my boundaries. Honesty. Honesty is so important. It is so important to build a relationship where you can have trust and vulnerability. In any relationship, it is important. You can't get to know who I am, truly am, what I'm afraid of, what I need, my goals, any of that stuff. Who I truly am lies in my vulnerability. And without vulnerability and trust, you can't have intimacy. You can't really get close. There's always the facade of what I'm putting out there as opposed to who I really am. And then expectations. My husband taught me this, that you have to manage expectations. You can't just go into a relationship with it in your mind of what you expect relationships to be. You have to communicate what you expect from that person so they can tell you whether or not that's something they want to do. That's my baby. They tell you if that's something they want to do or not. And so setting expectations and goals for the relationship are necessary. Okay. So number 9 is knowing your dating brand or messaging. I find that people don't always know what they are putting out there. I remember dating and hanging out with my friends and some of the guys saying, "Oh, all these girls are gold diggers, yada, yada, yada." And it's just like, well, if in the first 5 minutes of meeting someone, you're talking about what you drive or what you do for a living to put out what you make, not what your interests are, but it's just like, yeah, I work for this major firm, yada, yada, yada. If that's the first thing you talk about, you are putting out gold digger bait. Just like if I am, half naked, I can't be mad if I'm putting TNA on the menu if that's what someone is trying to order. It's know what you're putting out there and be consistent. If you are putting out there power woman, I got it together, then have it together. Know your goals. Be independent. If you are putting out independent woman, be independent. Don't put out independent women and then start asking for someone to pay your bills. Be consistent. My consistent message is glam. Nappy and glamorous. Glamorously nappy, if you will. And that's who I am. If you start going out on a date with me, then you may have to wait a couple of minutes for me to get my face on. I'm not just a get up and go kind of girl. That's what you signed up for. At the same note, what you see on Facebook is what you will see in person. I make sure of that. I don't just go out any kind of way because this is who I am. And I recognize that's who I am. I'm loud. I am funny. At least I think I'm funny. So I'm always making jokes. I'm very outgoing. So that is part of who I am. And that way, if someone expects something different, I make it clear you knew what it was. He is okay. He does that to get my attention. He's so adorable. All right. And finally, the last one, which is really important, number 10, is heal. Heal. Healing is an ongoing process. And you have to keep going. The beginning of our lives is how we learn to relate. It's how we learn to build connections, how we learn to be vulnerable and trust. And if we did not get relationships that made us feel safe and secure, it may be hard for us to open up. It may be hard for us to trust. But we're never going to have that health if we walk around scarred and bleeding from our childhoods or from old relationships. I make it a rule to never take my hurt from the last relationship into the new one. If I am not ready to move forward and give that next person a real chance, I don't date yet. I don't date seriously. I make sure that I am in the position emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and physically to move forward, to build something else. And I've been in relationships where the person I was with had not healed. I dated this one guy that whenever we had a disagreement, it was like he'd start in the middle of a fight. And I feel like I walked into a room where two people were arguing and I didn't know what was going on. But I was the other person. And it's just like, wait, what are you doing? Like, I don't fight. I don't argue. I don't do this yelling thing. And also, you are 10 steps madder than this conversation requires. And it became evident to me that he was so used to fights escalating so quickly that he took power by jumping the gun. And it just made for a very toxic situation, and we did not last. But that made me hyper aware of dating people that had not healed. And so I do my best to try to talk to people about their healing process in the first few dates. And if I find that I think that they're still trying to heal, I usually just take a step back. I allow them that space to get to know themselves, and maybe we can just be friendly and hang out. But I don't want to invest myself emotionally, psychologically in a situation where the person is not also healthy. I've found that trying to fix a broken person is like trying to put a broken glass mirror back together. You're only going to get cut up in the process. So then you end up scarred. You don't ever fix the person. And the reflection gazing back at you will always be a shattered one because of the scars and the brokenness that you had nothing to do with. But you may also break a few pieces trying to put it back together. Just let a professional do it. All right, well, that's it. Those are my 10 pearls of wisdom. Again, know thyself. Don't lie to yourself. Take 100% responsibility. A lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. Be the person on your dream person's list. Get your crap together and demand the best. Raise the bar and live there. Every relationship requires respect, boundaries, honesty, and expectation goals. Know your brand and be consistent, and heal. Those are the rules. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, leave a message. Let me know what you think. Let me know if any of these pieces of advice ring true to you. Click like, share this with friends, and also subscribe. Please subscribe. That way you can follow all of my videos. I'll be here next week drinking some coffee, having a talk. Coffee talk you down. Thank you very much. I super appreciate everybody. I look forward to the next conversation. It's going to be a good one. Bye.